Hi there, meteorologist Daniel Grant here in the 9 News Weather Center continues to monitor that severe thunderstorm that is charging across downtown Denver. Heavy rains as well as hail and fierce winds charging across the city as we speak. This is our camera downtown, and wow, is this storm packing a punch. We have a tornado watch in place until 9 p.m. tonight. This severe thunderstorm warning cell continues until 4 p.m. It's going to be a noisy night. I'm breaking it all down for you when we see you today on 9 News at 4.
It is another afternoon that's going to be tough on insurance premiums. Storms returning to the metro area. A live look at downtown Denver right now. There is some hail falling downtown as the rain drops on the camera there.
Yeah, this came in hard and fast at Coors Field. The rain falling hard, quick, even producing a little bit of hail. The Rockies are scheduled to play tonight, but that remains to be seen after this weather rolled in. Let's get straight to Danielle Grant with the latest. Where is the massive part of this hovering right now?
Downtown Denver and then off to the west and to the north, you guys. The storm system just continues to magnify across the city and intensify as well. I know you showed that time lapse of the hail across Coors Field. Look what it looks like now. I know they have a game. It's set for this evening. We'll see if they can play because the hail now simply covering much of the field out there. Take a look at this live camera if we can. Kind of what's going on out there. Yep, it's still ping-ponging around. It looks like it's in the seats as well as the field, at least bases covered up at this 4 o'clock hour. Tough to see downtown as we have the clouds, the heavy rain, gusty winds have been whipping all around, plus a lot of folks dealing with hail and damaged gardens tonight. As we look on the radar, most of the action has been sitting just on the west side of town and downtown over really the past about 30 minutes. Everywhere in orange under the tornado watch. That's going to continue until 9 o'clock tonight, but I can't rule out seeing those showers and thunderstorms that are moving in across parts of southeastern Colorado. Nothing severe down there. However, we are keeping a close eye on this monstrous cell that is positioned across the city this afternoon. I'll zoom in because we have the severe thunderstorm warning in place. It's going to continue. The National Weather Service has since extended it out until about 4:30 this afternoon. We've seen many reports of pea to marble size hail, radar even indicating larger than that, about the size of a quarter. Love seeing what's kind of happening in your backyard too. A lot of folks tweeting us about their damaged gardens and all of this rain and hail that is coming through parts of the metro area. Again, this severe thunderstorm warning is going to last until 4:30 for us. It's shifting to the northeast only at 10 miles per hour. It is a slow mover, hence the reason we also could be looking at some flash flooding out there too. I sliced the storm in half and you can easily see these cloud tops between about 35 to 40,000 feet. That just means the atmosphere incredibly unstable, and also the hail, a lot of room to move and to grow. This is the hail tracks that we just put on across downtown and really the west side of town, easily looking at $50 to golf ball sized hail. This storm system, guys, we're going to be monitoring it for the next couple of hours. We knew it was coming, and man, is it hitting hard across downtown and really much of the metro area.
All right, Danielle, let's get to meteorologist Keely Chalmers. She is driving around in all this near 44th and Wadsworth right now. What are you seeing, Keely?
Yep. That's right. I want to show you this picture before we have to turn here. This is a side view from the van here, and this is what you said, 44th and Wadsworth. And I tell you, it is like a mini lake here at this intersection. We've been seeing the cars going through, but I tell you what, they've been having to deal with some deep water out here. And as you can hear and likely see, it is certainly hailing out here right now. It started hailing here probably about 10 minutes ago. We started at the station in downtown Denver, drove through torrential rain heading west on I-70. It was all cars pulled over, which you're not supposed to do, under the underpasses. And even before it was hailing. So they were ready, but again, just dealing with the hail, the torrential rains, and a little bit of flooding out here right now. We'll send it back to you.
All right, Keely Chalmers in Wheat Ridge. You can see the construction on what I believe she was on Wadsworth. I couldn't tell if it was Wadsworth or 44th where she turned there. Construction, you add in all that rain, you think about all the water on the roadway. Let's get to Jaleesa Irizarry. Jaleesa is, where's Jaleesa?
Jaleesa's in Edgewater. What are you seeing? Can you hear us? We hear you. We hear the hail. Right, Jaleesa?
It looks like snow on the street, right? Yeah, it is incredibly loud being in this live truck right now, but we're in here and keeping each other safe here. But we're seeing a ton of hail and a ton of water right now. It honestly looks like snow covering the street right now, as well as a ton of loose.
Okay. I mean, as happens, right, when we're dealing with extreme weather like this, feels like deja vu almost. It was just last Thursday when you had those dual tornadoes that touched down in Akron on Wednesday, then Thursday, the tornado in Highlands Ranch. You were talking about the damage in your home. I mean, so many people still cleaning up. Thank goodness we had that stretch, though, of dry weather and able to dry out some of the saturated ground. But man, here we go again.
Yeah, we were just watching Jaleesa Irizarry in Edgewater there. Danielle Grant, we want to bring you in again. I know that we're getting reports of people in Sloan's Lake who are seeing a lot of hail there. I mean, it just seems like this storm kind of came up pretty quickly.
Yep, absolutely, you guys. It just kind of popped up in the foothills, rolled off the hogback into Morrison, and then really encountered some moisture as well as heat here across the urban corridor. What we saw today, that sunshine early on, all the ingredients kind of coming together to allow these thunderstorms to just blow up. And unfortunately, right across the city. I want to show you the temperatures because we were hovering in the 80s earlier as this thunderstorm has pushed in and is now moving a little closer out toward DIA. Numbers are cooling off. That hopefully will allow this storm to kind of back off in intensity just a bit. We're now at 76 here for the metro area, but still the heat remains off to the northeastern plains where these storms are headed. How about the dew points in the 50s? We're kind of used to this the past couple of weeks. We've been looking at a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, almost feeling a little humid when you wake up and go outside. These numbers just indicating how much moisture is in the atmosphere at the surface to work with to get the hail to really blossom. As we look at the threats for today, can't rule out seeing potentially a tornado. We have some good shear in the atmosphere. That also means some twisting, the winds coming our way. And also, of course, like we've already dealt with, huge hail out there. Wind, flooding, also going to be a threat for us. Pretty much everything is in the cards for us. As we look at the future cast, here we are about 5 o'clock. Within the next hour, the majority of the action will be shifting into parts of I-76, I-70, just east of DIA. We fast forward a couple more hours. Now it's impacting Morgan, Eastern Adams, Arapahoe counties, Denver, hopefully getting a break, and folks probably getting outside trying to clean up. But we won't be done yet. Even into later this evening, 10, 11 o'clock, I would not be surprised if we still will be tracking a few showers out there. Here we are at midnight. The severe threat has weakened, but we still will be monitoring some scattered showers out there. Again, as we look ahead through tomorrow morning, potentially even some rain early on. Tomorrow, Chris Bianchi, he's out there kind of looking ahead at what's coming our way tomorrow. Chris, we're not fully out of the woods. The severe threat for tomorrow doesn't look quite as intense as today, but still, the potential's out there.
Yeah, exactly, Danielle. I kind of want to look at the forecast a bit more in terms of what we might see over the next few hours and looking ahead to tomorrow a little bit as well. But in the meantime, Danielle, you were right on the money with this in terms of that threat over the next few hours. We have a tornado watch in place throughout most of northeastern Colorado. That said, the biggest threat to you over the next few hours will most likely be the large hail. Most of you are seeing it in downtown Denver. We're getting that large hail, as Danielle was just explaining a moment ago. Now, in terms of where all this nasty weather is headed over the next couple of hours, the metro area, I think for the next hour, by about 5:30, we should start to see these storms pull their way off to the north and east. By the way, that goes to speak, of course, we're approaching rush hour right now. Folks, don't drive if you don't have to. Just stay off the roads right now. These are very, very nasty storms. Large hail. There's the potential for tornadoes. You do not want to be on the roads right now. So just wait this out the next hour or so, and then things should get a lot better in the next hour. And by about 5:30, we'll start to see these storms push their way off to the east. So Lyman, Fort Morgan. I know our friends in Fort Morgan, northeast Colorado, had a very, very busy evening last night with up to baseball-sized hail in that part of the state. Unfortunately, there's going to be more nasty weather headed your way in the next hour or two. I-70, I-76, you're going to feel these storms as these push their way off to the east over the next couple of hours. And by about 8, 9 o'clock or so, these storms should push their way off to the east. So, Steve and Alex, I think the next couple of hours, this is going to be the kind of, again, the main time window for all in northeastern Colorado. But for the Denver metro area, in about an hour, we should start to see things get notably better.
Sounds promising, right? We're still kind of in the thick of it, though. Let's get to meteorologist Keely Chalmers. Last time we talked to her, she's in Wheat Ridge. She's now east on I-70, heading towards downtown.
Wow.
Have things shifted? What are you seeing? Still the hail?
Well, we just drove through some very strong, very heavy hail, probably about the size of a pea. Now, let me go ahead and give you a look out the front. It has certainly lightened up, but you can see along the side of the highway there. If I give you a side shot, possibly you can see it. I mean, you can see that pea-sized hail, maybe even larger. Some of those pellets are pretty big. I'd say about a quarter size, lining the highway here. Cars were pulled over, stopped on the highway to let this storm through. But again, things have lightened up a bit here. The heavy hail has stopped right now. Just some light hail mixed with rain falling. Every so often we hear a big boom, like it is a big piece of hail coming down. But again, slow going traffic here on I-70 heading into town. You can clearly see hail has fallen and it's likely going to fall again. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, and this is where we start to run into some of those problems with the cell signal. When everybody's kind of backed up on the highway, everybody might be using their direction tools to try to figure out where they're going, and tends to take up some cell phone room. Let's get to meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen, who, as he always does, is trying to get the best picture of this storm from the distance. He's in Aurora. Corey, what are you seeing out there?
Hey, Steve. Yeah, we just kind of pulled over here just south of I-70 here of Smith Road, just getting into the Aurora area. And what you're looking at here, beyond that attractive looking fence there, is the thunderstorm that's going through Denver right now. And one of our kind of main jobs or goals is to keep an eye on possible rotation today. We are in a tornado watch, and this cell that's moving through the Denver metro area will eventually start to spin as it moves through. So we're trying not to get stuck in the traffic of the metro and keep an eye on this thing. And we have seen all the hazards come out of this, but I think it is important to note that so far we haven't seen any of that really large hail. What's going on inside this storm is mostly heavy rain and small hail between about nickel and quarter size, which is up to about 1 inch. So this the ingredients that we have today is certainly have the potential for much larger. So that's one thing to keep an eye on. And speaking of that rain, you can kind of see kind of towards the right-hand side of the screen where it's much darker. We saw that flash of lightning. That's where the main hail core is in this storm, and it is putting down a ton of moisture. In fact, the National Weather Service just issued a flash flood warning for parts of just main part of the Denver metro area. So we'll continue to watch this storm as it moves through and evolves onto the east side of the metro.
All right, lots of ominous clouds. We want to get to our Katie Eastman, who is on 225 North, also on the road for us today, giving us the best look heading towards Aurora. Wow, those are some dark clouds, Katie.
Yeah, we are just driving in sunshine right now, but we see that impending doom heading north on 225 North. We were just in the Denver Tech Center. It seemed to just miss that area right there. There were dark clouds over us, and then it was sunshine again. We were next to a bunch of people in the park, and it looks like they are safe. But as we head north towards Aurora, towards DIA, doesn't look like people up there will be as lucky, so we'll just keep giving you this look as the storm heads on over here.
We were seeing that view from Corey Reppenhagen's camera. He's a little bit east of there, just kind of looking back at that storm. Here's the view from the south, and Katie Eastman looking on 225, heading toward the Aurora area. A preview of coming attractions for folks who are in that area. So be weather aware, be safe. Make sure you got everything covered up. If you can get your car to a garage, try to get it there just in case. Because you heard Corey saying we've got all the ingredients for some big hail and some nasty situations.
Definitely. We've seen on I-70 some of those trucks and cars kind of parked in those overpasses trying to avoid the hail. Obviously, that's something that, CSP says let's not do. Let's keep the traffic moving. But we totally understand wanting to keep your car safe. Try to find, like you just said, a garage or something, get off the road.
Chances are, if you've been living around here long enough, you've got some hail damage on your car anyway. Let's get to meteorologist Danielle Grant again, who's watching this all from the big picture. Danielle, this is moving pretty quickly, but all the ingredients are still out.
It's putting down so much rain, so much hail, and like Corey said, we could potentially see a twist in the atmosphere and potentially a couple of tornadoes too. Again, we're not out of the woods today. Everything is in the cards. I showed you this at the top of the hour out at Coors Field. They allegedly have a game scheduled against the Dodgers, 6:40, but look at all of that hail completely covering the field. At least it looks like they're getting morning, maybe a brief reprieve as the cell is tracking a little bit outside of downtown for now. But wow, was that a wild one? The lightning, the thunder looking so ominous in the distance this evening. You can see our hail reports coming into us about an inch or so in diameter in Morrison, Lakewood, Northwest Denver, Mountain View, looking at about penny-sized hail. Again, you guys, this storm is just sitting atop the city. I threw on the lightning tracker more than 100 strikes, and I do want to mention the severe thunderstorm warning. We still have another 15 minutes to go, but it is impacting our friends out at DIA. I know they had a lot of issues this past week, and once again, the weather probably, guys, not helping them out on a Thursday afternoon.
No, absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, meteorologist Danielle Grant, thank you.
Yeah, we want to attempt to get to Jaleesa Irizarry again. She's been in Edgewater where they were inundated with hail. Looks like a little bit of snow behind you, but as we've learned in the last couple of weeks, the hail comes down quick and will saturate those roads.
Hi there. I guess it just started hailing again just as now. We've got sunny skies here. We're on 22nd Street and Ingalls Street in Edgewater, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it just started hailing again. But as you can see from the roadway behind me, looks like snow, doesn't it? It is completely covered. It came down hard and with a vengeance. A lot of debris from the big trees in this neighborhood. We were hanging out over at the Edgewater Civic Center when suddenly it just got really loud inside our live truck. It sounded like constant lightning almost in our live truck. We could barely hear anything while we were on the phone with producers over at the station, but things have levied up a little bit. And look at that, now the rain is letting up a little bit. And again, there is some sunshine here, but a real sight to see. And with all of that heavy rain so quickly, we've got a lot of water running through. I'll tell you, about 5 minutes ago, this little stream over on the edge of the road was probably 2 feet wide, and so now it's kind of dissipated a little bit, but still we've got a lot of hail and a lot of debris. So if you are on this area, the west side of Denver, you've got to be careful here because it seems to be coming and going as it pleases. We're still seeing a lot of clouds, but we are seeing some sunshine. I want to show you the size of this hail really quick. It's pretty impressive. I hope these neighbors don't mind that I'm in their yard. But this is some quarter-size hail right here. It got pretty big. While we were headed to Edgewater, it was only about penny size, but it got really big and really loud. And so I'm sure that was a scary moment for a lot of people on the roadway today. And of course, we can tell you so many times to try and be safe and take it easy and try to seek shelter if you can. I saw a couple of homeowners out here throughout this. They came out just as the rain was letting up, kind of looking around, very curious as to what just happened. It kind of ripped through rather quickly, but safe to say that we are safe. And look at that, the hail that started about 2 minutes ago has gone away now.
Perfect timing. Tell me. All right, I got to ask you, you're standing in front of a car. Turn around. Does it look like it has any hail damage on it? I know you're not a professional insurance adjuster, but like, what does that look like?
Let's go check, shall we? Let's go check this car out, Alex. The damage, it's not terrible. It's not bad. It's looking okay. It actually survived this. I think this quarter-size hail wasn't terrible on some of the cars. You know, when it gets a little bit bigger than that, you never know what happens. But luckily, I think the people in this area, and at least the cars that I've seen been driving by, they seem to be in okay shape. Some leaf debris on them, but they seem to be manageable.
Good news, no busted windows. Everything looks good. Maybe just a little few dings on there, but that's living in Colorado. All right.
I know, especially in these last couple of weeks. It just feels like, you know, par for the course.
Yeah.
Seems like some of that heavy hail, though, is lifting towards the north and the east like we've seen in the last 30 minutes or so. So things are relaxing. Absolutely.
All right, we're going to take a break from all this. We'll be right back. I-25 near 23rd, and look at the traffic making its way through those floodwaters right now. You see that one car close to us there on the bottom of your screen seems to be stuck in the water there. Should tell you about how quickly that storm moved through that part of downtown. But it is slow go on I-25 at 23rd as that roadway just kind of covered with water there as CDOT's moving the camera around right now to try to get an idea. You see a lot of people kind of bailing. They don't want to even try this going down the ramp there. Somebody's trying to head right back up as a tow truck tries to get to that potentially stalled vehicle, which looks like it may be moving again. I believe that one that's kind of moving slowly is the one that was stuck there on the camera for quite a while. Oh, nope, it's still there.
Oh, yeah, just cringing looking at this because we have seen how going through floodwaters is incredibly dangerous. It turned out to be deadly for one woman last week. It's just something you don't want to do. So I wish these people would heed those warnings. We are under a flash flood warning for Denver and Jefferson County that goes until 6 p.m. today. We're looking at evidence here on I-25, flooded near West 23rd, of why you shouldn't be on the roads if you don't have to, and you certainly want to avoid this area right now.
Folks who have been around here for a long time will remember when the south part of I-25 used to flood a lot well before the T-Rex project of the 2000s took care of some of those drainage problems. We haven't seen a flood like this on I-25 in quite some time, but that's an unbelievable picture. So if you're waiting for somebody to come back, especially from that part of downtown, just know that's what they're dealing with right now.
Yeah, please avoid it if you can. We've been talking a lot about Douglas County over the last week or so, cleaning up from the F1 tornado that hit Highlands Ranch last week, a week ago today.
Yeah, today they started to assess the damage with the hopes that they don't get hit again. 9 News reporter Katie Eastman joins us in Lone Tree. Well, she's actually heading on the highway right now, I believe on 225. Katie, you're kind of keeping an eye on one storm and thinking about the storm that hit us last week.
Yeah, we are. And actually, it just started to hail. We're getting into Aurora on 225 North. I'm going to show you guys what it looks like right in front of us. Just a little bit of hail right now, but I'm a little worried it's about to look like it does in Denver. It's starting to come down. We're starting to hear it on the top of our live truck here. I'll show you a side view as we're just driving north on 225. I think you can probably hear it banging on top of the truck. Yeah, we were talking with people today in Highlands Ranch who are cleaning up from the tornado last week, and they were just hoping that they don't get hit again.
And we were told by some of your neighbors that a tree fell upon your house.
Every homeowner knows the extent of their own damage from the tornado that came through Highlands Ranch last week.
Is your house insured?
Yeah. But Deputy Andrew Bowman and several other Douglas County crews are going door to door to figure out the extent of all the damage on everyone's homes.
We're just trying to get a good ballpark estimate.
The county says about 16,000 trees were taken down. They don't know how many homes were damaged, and they need to get that information in order to be eligible for a presidential disaster declaration.
We want to help our citizens as much as possible. That declaration would open what's called a public assistance grant, and that would help all of our public facilities.
The director of the Office of Emergency Management, Deborah Schnockenberg, says they've already met the county's $1.5 million threshold for a disaster, but the state's threshold is $10 million.
That information comes back to us here in our mobile command post, and we have a lifetime view of what's been checked, what the damages are, and we are beginning to build a database with a running total on it that we can then give to the state here shortly to continue this process.
We're looking at just like the actual effect that came upon the household itself.
The county expects the assessment process to take about 2 days.
Water damage or anything like that?
The aftermath of a tornado is not something they're used to.
We've got this.
But they're confident they've got a handle on it.
We never expected to see a tornado rip through downtown Highlands.
No, did not believe it. Well, have a good day.
I am hoping those guys don't get hit again. We're getting hit with some hail right now. Take a look at, this is I-225 North, where we're just slowing down because of this hail hitting us. We're just about to cross Colfax here, heading north in Aurora. Yeah, and people have been slowing down because people are pulling under this bridge to try to avoid the hail. Exactly what you're not supposed to do. But I want to send it back to you guys as we make sure we stay safe driving here.
Yeah, and you see all the folks heading on the shoulder there to try to get under the bridge. Folks, not the right thing to do. You never know if traffic can see you from behind you. You don't want to get into a crash in the middle of all this, because think of all the things first responders are dealing with.
Absolutely. Danielle's been saying throughout the afternoon, this is not the time to be on the roads. Let's check in with her and see where the worst of it is now.
It's just slowly starting to push out of the Denver metro area, you guys. But I mean, all of that flooding on I-25 just kind of makes my heart sink, because we have seen so much water already, 1 to 2 inches from this storm system as it has pushed by, and now you have people stopping right there in the waters, or potentially just driving through when it is way too high. I know you get confident behind the wheel, but this is why we say turn around, don't drown, is because not only you, but also your vehicle could get stuck out there. I want to show you the CDOT camera of what we, all right, this is right when they kind of zoomed into the ditch, but certainly you can see all of that water that is accumulated out there. Again, if you have a sedan, all it takes is 1 foot of fast-moving water that can absolutely carry away your car. If you have an SUV, all right, you get 2 feet, but we have seen so much water already. This is just kind of a good reminder. Hopefully, you're not driving, but if you do get out there and we have another strong storm, which we definitely will this season, you just have to be aware of the fact that definitely you can get carried away with all of this water out there from these storms. On HD Doppler 9 tonight, really that storm that has been positioned across the west side of town, downtown, and then now shifting off to the northeast, that has been the biggest storm that we have been watching all day long here right atop the metro area. It's now impacting our neighbors to the north, Federal Heights, Thornton, North Glen, I-76 through Commerce City, and now also out toward DIA. The severe thunderstorm warning is going to go until 4:30 out there. Meteorologist Keely Chalmers has been driving around for us. She's kind of been in the heart of the storm this entire time. Keely, you've been looking at heavy rain, hail. Where are you at now, and what are you seeing?
Yeah, we've seen it all. We've seen heavy rain. We've seen hail. We're at I-70 heading east, right about to go under Federal. So I want to show you what we're seeing. It's actually improved a little bit. This is the second time we went through, but this area is flooded. This is what we're seeing all across I-70 in certain areas, both on side roads, on the interstate, which we see here. I think you can see, let me try to give you a shot if we can get up there. Maybe a little bit of a side shot could help. Here we go. Let's go ahead and show. But there was a car actually stranded in this high water just about 10 minutes ago. It looks like the car was able to get out, but you can see just how high this water is as cars try to navigate through it. So again, not only are they having to deal with hail, torrential rain, but now flooding. So again, like you said, Danielle, driving, not a good idea right now. Let's toss it over to Chris Bianchi for a look at what we're seeing and what we can expect to come.
Yeah, Keely, and stay safe out there. And here, folks, obviously the main takeaway from what you just saw a second ago, stay home. Just do not drive, stay home. And here's the reason why we're seeing this kind of flooding. I just pulled up this rain gauge from the west side of Denver, right on the Denver-Lakewood border. This would be on the southwest side of Denver. 1.1 inches worth of rainfall in 1 hour. And I want to put that into a bit of perspective for you. So that's about 2 inches of rain in an hour. And for a bit of context, this is what we average, over the course of the full month of June. So in about 1 hour, we picked up a full month's worth of rainfall. And this comes on top of, I don't have to tell you, an exceptionally wet June and May and really spring overall. Heading into this event, we had over 5¼ inches worth of rainfall so far this month. This was already our wettest June on record, so the ground is already saturated. And the analogy I like to use for that, it's like taking a bucket of water and pouring it onto a tile floor as opposed to a carpet. That water is just going to spread. There's nothing to absorb all this water. So again, going back to this 1.81 inches worth of rainfall in 1 hour rainfall total, that is a ton of water as is. You consider the fact that we've had a ton of rain this month. Last month was our 11th wettest May on record. We've just had way too much water at this point, and that's why we're seeing these sorts of issues, and that's why you're seeing that kind of flooding. And again, the big takeaway, you probably know at this point here, Steve and Alex, the obvious answer at this point is just stay home and just let this rain settle on down into the ground. It will eventually get on down, and we're starting to see things get a little bit calmer. We'll be right back.
To our Katie Eastman on I-70 East and looking at more ominous skies driving through. Katie.
Just said we're just following the storm here. It looks like right out front our window heading east on I-70 past Pena Boulevard that the hail has mostly stopped and now it's just a lot of rain. You can see underneath these overpasses the cars just protect themselves. But as far as we're seeing, just rain, and it seems like we're protected here. I'll send it back to you guys.
The good side, that's the good news, is that we're all right. Katie's just in rain right now, no hail for now. Let's get out to meteorologist Danielle Grant. Oh, you know what? Let's get to video. I am sorry. This is video at 53rd and Sheridan, trying to figure out what's going on there right now. What it looks like it could be a water main break. We've seen so much infrastructure fail because of what you heard Chris talking about there, the wet June that we've had, the wet May that we had. We are not used to this kind of water, and our infrastructure's just kind of given up in some cases. But that was a geyser there at 53rd and Sheridan, sent in from a viewer. Again, we're going to try to look into what is going on there. We're going to get to meteorologist Danielle Grant. 1.81 inches in that storm that Chris was talking about. Yep. That's an incredible amount of water.
Isn't it? Just absolutely insane. Anywhere between 1 to 2, possibly 3 inches of rain has fallen across the downtown Denver metro area. And like he mentioned, the rain just has nowhere to go. We had such a soggy May. June already the wettest month that we have ever seen on record here in Denver. And now this is just kind of adding insult to injury. Yes, we want the rain, but it's just almost too much of a good thing. We do have a flash flood warning in place. This is going to be this kind of purple polygon on the west side of town, downtown, I-70 included in that, just because we've seen so much flooding out on the highways too. That's going to continue until 6 o'clock again for Denver and Jefferson counties. Wouldn't be surprised if even we see it continue kind of out toward DIA, where the storm system is still chugging along. In fact, the severe thunderstorm warning has actually been extended out. It's going to continue until, I believe, let me just click on it, 5:15. There it is. Yep, now including Adams, Arapahoe, and Denver counties. DIA just getting clobbered right now. Heavy rains coming through, so much lightning. I imagine DIA, of course, is on a delay. Flights probably having to be diverted because the storm system has been just sitting across downtown and then now sitting atop the airport. Pena Boulevard going to be a mess. So keep that in mind. I know it's a big holiday weekend. Folks trying to get out of Dodge. Maybe even you're picking up some friends and family out at the airport, and this definitely is going to slow folks down. So a heads up if you're heading in that direction. I did just put on the lightning tracker about 80 plus strikes in the past 15 minutes time, so it definitely has been an electrical afternoon, to say the very least. We've been monitoring kind of the temperatures, the dew points, what we have seen across the city, and the numbers have slowly been cooling off as this front has been pushing through. Out at DIA, wouldn't be surprised if we see that number drop even more, as the storm is pretty much right on top of them as we speak. Still a lot of moisture out there though, with the dew points in the 50s and 60s out east, so that just tells us there's still plenty more moisture to work with in the atmosphere. I want to give just a quick kind of outline of where these storms are headed, if I can, through Futurecast. This is about 5 o'clock, when the worst of it is certainly east of the I-25 corridor. 7 p.m. it's impacting our neighbors into Washington, Morgan counties. 11 o'clock. Late this evening, still a few scattered showers. Might have a brief break, a few clouds out there, maybe even a bit of patchy fog. But look at how fast the rain returns to us tomorrow. We could be talking about rain showers mid-morning, and then another round of showers rolling in 2, 3 o'clock. Everything skirting off to the eastern plains. And hopefully, you guys, by about 11 o'clock tomorrow night, we're in the clear. We're diving ahead toward a holiday weekend, and we can bank on some sunshine around here after a couple wild days of weather.
Yeah, we could use some drying out for a little bit. Danielle, thank you.
DIA could use some drying out. I'm thinking about the people who have been sleeping on cots, sleeping on the floor for days because of weather in the Northeast. Now we're dealing with our own weather.
In the meantime, look at this. This is I-25 again, near 23rd. You see that mud on the side of the highway there? That appears to have kind of just drifted down from the embankment on the side of the highway. There's actually, it looks like some crews out there kind of taking a look and assessing what that is right now. Thankfully, that car that we saw stuck in the lane there, that silver PT Cruiser that was just kind of sitting there in the middle of the roadway. We did see some Denver police officers approach not too long ago and a tow truck get it hooked up to get it moved out of there. The good news is we see people moving through that area, not necessarily something I would typically tell you to do, but it looks like they're at least taking it slow as they try to make their way through an evening commute that is a mess.
Yes,
downtown tonight.
home is where I hope these people are heading again. Because the flood warning is still in effect for another hour and a half or so, not only in Denver County, but Jefferson County. Our Katie Eastman is heading out now. Still, every time we check in with you, Katie, it's like you were finding the hail because we hear it pouring down on the car.
Yeah, I spoke too soon. I thought we were out of it, and then we're right back in it. My gosh, look at that hail. We're just getting back on I-70. We had gotten off at Colfax. Now we're going to head towards East 470. But my gosh, it is just pounding down. I can't even hear my own voice. I'm not sure if what I'm saying is making any sense because it's hard to hear myself above the hail pounding down on our live truck. Luckily, there's not too many cars out here, but we're getting pretty far out east. But it is a sight to see. It's getting pretty white along these roads.
Be the 9 News insurance agent sitting here and watching this today and saying, oh my goodness, that is gonna cost something on that live truck. Luckily, Katie Eastman is safe. All of our crews are safe right now, just kind of surveying the roads. She's out on I-70 near 470, where that storm is just kind of tracking right now. Let's get out to meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen. He is out on Pena Boulevard approaching DIA. Corey, we just heard Danielle talking about how the airport's getting hit with hail right now. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I've seen a mixture of hail and heavy rain here as we approach Denver International Airport on Pena Boulevard. We just decided to drive through the backside of the storm to see what type of hail that we encountered. About 1-inch hail for a while there, about 2 or 3 minutes ago, pounding the top of the live our 9 News vehicle. But now we're kind of in a very smaller hail, so that little pocket of of the larger hail in the 1-inch to ping pong ball size hail, as this storm does still have a severe thunderstorm warning on it, so 1/2-inch hail is in this, so we'll watch it. As far as we've seen so far, that little pocket is fairly small, so once we get back on E470 here and head back to south, we're going to drive through it one more time. But as you can see, Denver International Airport is getting that hail, and they're also getting a lot of heavy rain and lightning right over in this area, guys.
Just incredible pictures out there by the airport, and you imagine that a lot of people, like you said, Alex, have been sitting there for a long time with these massive delays and cancellations we've seen from United Airlines, now dealing with this, possibly causing some cancellations.
Right, and DIA saying nothing is getting in or out right now, as you can imagine, with that weather we just saw.
Yeah, we know Jaleesa Irizarry is near Edgewater, where she's surveying the hail. Thankfully, we saw a car earlier with you, Jaleesa, that looked okay. What does it look like now?
Things are still pretty okay here. We're still at 22nd and Ingalls here in Edgewater, and it was quite the experience about a half hour ago or so. It just kind of came down quickly. It was funny. Our assignment manager, Darren Whitehead, sent us a text message saying we're going live, and we were like, for what? And then all of a sudden, all the hail came down very, very quickly. Much like our live truck, check out this hail. This is how quickly it came down and just kind of piled down on cars. Some of this hail has really melted, but these pieces are pretty big, I won't lie to you. And shockingly enough, we haven't seen a lot of damage. This car does have a few dents in it, but Steve, like you said, we live in Colorado, so this very well could have been from another storm. But I want to show you just what it looks like in some of the yards in this area, because that's really the impressive part. Look at this winter wonderland we have stumbled across here in Edgewater here in June. I was just talking to this neighbor here in the area, and he said it just came down really, really, really fast. But he said everyone's okay, everything is safe. He hasn't seen any damage so far just yet, so he's thankful for that. And we also saw some people walking out and about in the midst of this, and that was a really scary sight. I saw a gentleman with an umbrella over his head, and boy, I was worried about him, and luckily it seemed like he was running towards shelter, hopefully. But really all we're seeing here right now, the water has receded. We did see some heavy waters coming through this roadway about a half hour ago. Those have since receded. We're just seeing a lot of this hail damage here, and some of the debris from the trees coming down. If you can see over there, this tree obviously got a lot of leaves brought down when that storm ripped through here about a half hour ago. But right now things are fairly quiet here now, and like I said, the cars seem okay, Steve, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right, Jaleesa Irizarry reporting for us right now in Edgewater. Jaleesa, we appreciate it.
And this weather is widespread. I mean, we have viewers checking in with us from Wheat Ridge, Sheridan, Lakewood, and here's a downtown, of course, as we've been showing you what I-25 looks like right now. Here's a little glimpse of what folks are seeing. Look at the rushing water there in the center. Kieran, that's our producer, sent us that.
Yeah, she, I believe, is in Wheat Ridge and was sending back some hail reports that were huge. And just look at that shot in the bottom right-hand corner of all that water moving through. I've seen a lot of images from like the Highlands area of a lot of hail that moved through, and hail that's just kind of rushing through the roadway. It kind of looks like fast, swift water as it's moving through the roadway. Meteorologist Chris Bianchi was talking earlier about just how fast this rain fell. Chris, this was an unbelievable storm.
Yeah, in fact, I can go back to this for a quick second. We picked up, and I mentioned this a few minutes ago, but I think it's worth re-emphasizing because I think the question we keep getting from a lot of you, which is totally understandable, is why we're seeing this kind of flooding. We get summertime storms, but we don't often see this kind of flooding here in Denver. Now, we've picked up almost about 2 inches worth of rainfall on the west side of Denver. Looks like the east side of Wheat Ridge, Edgewater, that area where Jaleesa was just a second ago. I think we picked up about 2 inches worth of rainfall in 1 hour. That's a lot of rain, but that does happen. What doesn't often happen for us here in the Denver area and throughout the Front Range is we don't often have that coming on top of our wettest June on record. This was before this storm. We picked up over about 5.25 inches worth of rainfall so far this June. Easily our wettest June on record, and keep in mind we've still got another day to go, and we may easily top 6 inches worth of rainfall from this month officially. Now, wettest months on record last month, we had our 11th wettest month on record last May, and our 4th wettest May on record. So to sum that up for you, 4th wettest May on record, followed by our wettest June, and then we had our wettest June before today's storm. So then you throw in another 2 inches of rain in an hour, and the ground, it's basically a tile floor at this point. It's just not absorbing much, and that's a big part of the issue that we're looking at right now. And then we're still not done with this severe weather threat. Still have this tornado watch that's up for northeastern Colorado until about 9 p.m. tonight. Now, the tornado risk in the Denver area is probably a little bit lower than it was a few hours ago. That said, we still have some storms that are moving the way on through. So the tornado threat still not over and done with for the Denver area, but I do think it is a little bit lower than it was a couple hours ago. And the strongest of these storms are going to continue to slide their way off to the east. So as we head over the next couple of hours, Fort Morgan, Lyman, your storms have most likely not really moved through yet. I know in Fort Morgan, you had a very, very busy night last night with those storms. And unfortunately, more storms will likely move their way on through in the next hour or so, and then these storms should continue to push their way off to the east. So for the Denver metro area, Steve and Alex, it's really going to be the next hour that, at least to me, I'm most concerned about. And I would also say at this point, with the amount of water that we've got on the roadways, just, again, do yourself a favor, stay off the roads, and let these storms slide the way on by.
I know, I feel like you're saying that over and over, but it seems like you can't say it enough because we have seen people stranded and in those floodwaters trying to get home. We want to check in with our Katie Eastman, who's actually pulled over on the side of the road, I-70 East. I think we have Katie. Katie, I'm thinking about you, girl, because it was a week ago today where you were also hiding from hail when your windshield got blown through.
Yeah, and I think, you guys, that's making me a little more nervous. Every time it pounds down, I'm like, is the windshield going to shatter? I'm going to show you what it looks like out front here. Roads are covered. It is like a snowstorm, but a lot louder than a snowstorm. We pulled over just because we're going to wait until this passes through since these roads are so covered. Check out the side of this here. You can kind of start to see just how big these are out here. These are bigger than quarter size. Some of them even look, I would say, maybe the size of a plum or a clementine. And it's coming down. It's coming down hard. Photojournalist Tom Cole is behind me. We just pulled over. He's getting some video of this out here. Yeah, it's just one of those moments you're like, okay, please don't shatter, please don't shatter. It's even coming through sideways here. I'm like feeling it. Nothing big is getting through, but yeah, we're just crossing our fingers. Everything's gonna be okay out here.
Gotta love Tom opening the door, get the best shot possible. I'm sure that Tom has like a hard hat in there. He's like ready for this.
I know. Katie got welted last week, Tom, so please protect our girl and protect yourself too.
All right, Katie Eastman reporting.
Yeah, we're pretty safe in here.
Good. Stay tight. Hang out there for a little bit. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tight.
Threat for severe thunderstorms crossing the urban corridor as we speak. A lot of folks on the west side already looking at the damage from the hail that pushed through earlier this afternoon, the heavy rains and the flooding that a lot of folks are dealing with, trying to get home from work. And here we are, I-70, I-25 just inundated with so much water. Radar estimates indicating 1 to 2, possibly 3 inches of rain has already fallen within about the past 2 hours time. Simply incredible as we watch folks drive through those flooded waters out there on I-25. I want to show you some of our hail reports just into the Weather Center. About 1.5 inches in Aurora, as well as Edgewater. Sorry for the misspelling there. Buckley Air Force Base, about 1.25 inches, and then quarter size here in Denver, Lakewood, and Morrison. Look at that. The tornado watch will continue until 9 p.m. tonight. The I-25 corridor, I-76, I-70, and then all the way up into the panhandle of Nebraska, Wyoming included in that. This is the most action we have seen throughout the day, and it has been right across the heart of the city. The cell is now impacting our friends out there out at DIA as they are on a ground stop. That means no planes in, no planes out, as the cell is just sitting right atop them. You can see a lot of lightning out there, plus we're tracking hail potentially about the size of a lime, 2 inches in diameter. That can do some damage out there. So also if you have folks traveling in on I-70 between Bennett, heading out toward Aurora, keep that in mind. This cell might slow them down. Everywhere in blue, that indicates the hail that is coming down, and I would not be surprised if it is impacting drivers out there on I-70. I want to zoom out to the west side of town because folks out there under a flash flood warning until 6 o'clock. We have a little more than another hour to go as we've seen so much water with the initial wave as this cell rolled off the foothills about 2:30, 3 o'clock. It just smacked Wheat Ridge, Lakewood, Morrison, Golden with so much rain, and even downtown Denver, we've seen those little areas just absolutely flooded, little rivers across the city and the streets out there. Slice this storm in half. That's now kind of on the outskirts toward DIA, and it is a massive one, 40,000 feet high. That just indicates the strength that this storm has, its power, and the ability to put down huge hail like what we've already seen. This is a look at the hail tracks over the course of the past 3 hours time. Of course, the west side getting hit first, damaging some gardens out there. Hopefully not too many cars. It hit downtown, and then now impacting folks on the east side of town out toward Aurora, I-70 easily looking at huge hail coming down with this storm. As we look ahead toward the rest of the forecast this evening, we'll be looking at temperatures falling into the mid-50s under mostly cloudy skies. Again, the storm threat will be shifting to the eastern plains over the course of the next couple of hours. Overnight lows dropping off into the 50s for many of us here in eastern Colorado, 30s and 40s up in the mountains, but futurecast pretty much banking over the course of the next hour or two that the majority of the severe storms will be out of our hair. By 7 o'clock, they're almost losing some intensity out there in Morgan and Washington counties. Still a couple of scattered showers, however, across the city through late tonight. This is about 11 p.m. or so. Overnight, we should start to see our skies clear just a bit. Can't rule out seeing a little bit of patchy fog to get you going on your Friday morning. And then by about 11 to noon, we could be looking at another round already rolling in. So it's going to be a little earlier tomorrow as we look at the storm threat. Some, however, may turn severe out east. We'll get another round here in Denver by about 2 o'clock, 6 p.m., everything kind of pushing east, and then we should be in the clear by late tomorrow evening. Guys, I just want to show you this. This is the risk for tomorrow. You'll notice Denver not included in that, and that's just going to be general thunderstorms, but a marginal threat existing just to the east of Colorado Springs through Lyman, and then a slight risk heading out into Kansas, everywhere in yellow. So if you have a road trip that's taking you out there, just a heads up, huge hail once again could be on the docket for a lot of folks tomorrow afternoon and into the evening.
All right, Danielle, thank you. We've seen some of that hail just pounding over DIA in the last 20 or 30 minutes or so. DIA saying that they expect delays for flights coming in and out today, up to 2 hours or more. I mean, the poor people who've been, I know, right? And the poor people who have been there, I mean, people tweeting just saying that they've been, you know, stuck on the floor for days, and this doesn't help the situation there.
Give us some relief, right? Let's check in with meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen. He's paying the big money to drive on E470 right now near DIA. Corey, what does it look like out there?
Hey, Steve, you know, we've got some really heavy rain still falling at DIA. We keep encountering pockets of hail as well. We might hear a few, some of those hailstones hitting the truck right now. Those are about pea to dime size hail, but only just a minute ago we were going through some hail that was much larger, probably about 1 inch hail, so about the quarter size hail. So that we're on the backside of that severe thunderstorm that Katie was in the front of, and so the hail, the large hail just went to the south of Denver International Airport, and it extends from about where we are on E470 down towards Watkins, and the storm just kind of pulsed up just as it went right towards Denver International Airport. And of course, the water is a huge deal with this storm, as we've seen all across the town, and the same is the case out here in the Denver International Airport area on E470 as well. You can kind of see a little bit of the water coming off of the wheels of the truck in front of us. Every once in a while we'll encounter some water that's about 4 or 5 inches deep, and the water really fishtails off of the just get a big rooster tail off of those trucks. And here we go back into a little bit of the hail again, so we'll see if it pulses back up. It certainly has that potential to do so, so we'll stay on the backside while Katie stays on the front side, and we'll keep an eye on this hail situation out here in the east side of the metro near the airport.
All right, Corey Reppenhagen, stay safe out there. Let's check in with Katie Eastman. The last we saw her, she was stuck on the side of the road. She is, in the meantime, heading west right now. Katie, what do you see?
Yeah, I see not as much hail, but a lot of fog now because of that hail hitting the ground. And also, take a look at this. A lot of traffic. This is why we decided to take the frontage road back west, because that's I-70 west there. And it's backed up because people are stopping under the overpass and nobody can get through. We just saw people under that overpass with blown out windshields. And so we're trying to head back in a safe way to be on the side of the frontage road to maybe catch up with them over there to see if we can chat with them about what they're dealing with. Clearly, this hail was big enough to break windshields. That's what I was worried about because we experienced that last week. And we did start to see some bigger hail out here. Now it's calming down and I'm feeling a little more at ease. I was pretty nervous and stressed that we were going to have another cracked windshield, but so far so good. We haven't looked at the top of the live truck. That might be another story, but right now we don't know, so what we don't know can't hurt us.
Not for a while. We'll check on that later after storm season's over. Katie Eastman reporting there. Katie, stay safe. We appreciate you.
Yeah, Denver and the metro just inundated with another afternoon storm here this summer.
Yeah, we're getting pretty good at this coverage. We've had to do it so many times. We're going to continue on 9 News at 5 next.
Douglas County is still cleaning up from the F1 tornado that hit Highlands Ranch last week.
Yeah, today they started to assess the damage there as another storm rolled through. You're looking live on I-25 right now, where you see a lot of mud on the highway there. That was because that area was flooded not too long ago. That again is near West 23rd. You know that area of the highway. It's right near downtown. So we're taking a look at that. We're trying to get an answer about a car that was stalled there for a little while to see why that car was stuck. But it's just an unbelievable storm. 1.81 inches of rain that fell in one area of town within an hour that just caused a lot of streets to flood.
We have been tracking this absolute mess on Interstate 25 and 20th Street, which we just showed you. And now take a look at this.
Yeah, so much water in the street right now. That's the sewer at 53rd and Sheridan. It could not handle it all, just became a geyser right there in the middle of the roadway. Here's what happened near that part of I-25 where we were looking at earlier and Coors Field, the river of water just rushing down the street as the surrounding land just covered in hail there.
I want to show you this video from Sloan's Lake. It shows just how much rain was coming down all at once. It came quick and fast, and Danielle has been tracking it all.
Yeah, it has been an active and busy afternoon for a lot of folks. Of course, the storm system dropping into the metro area right there about 3, 4 o'clock. People trying to get out of work, and it has created just a mess on the roads. Mother Nature delivering all of the ingredients for severe thunderstorms for us with a huge hail, strong winds, heavy drenching rains, flash flooding, and we can't rule out we might see a tornado here or there throughout the evening. In fact, the Denver area under a tornado watch. We're going to be looking at that continuing until about 9 o'clock tonight everywhere in that orange box under the tornado watch. For now, we have just this one severe cell that has been parked across the city and now is moving out toward DIA and parts of eastern Colorado. A lot of lightning out there, and we still have the severe thunderstorm warning going until 5:15. Radar indicating potentially hail about 2 inches in diameter. That's like the size of a lime. That definitely can do some damage out there. And of course, the lightning not helping folks out at DIA. They are at a ground stop. No one can come in, no one can come out. It's just been a mess. Also, on the west side of town, like Steve was saying, close to 2 inches of rainfall up in the Highlands. No wonder they're under a flash flood warning until about 6 o'clock tonight. Parts of Denver and Jefferson counties because so much water came in with these storms. Back to that severe cell that is positioned out toward DIA, and we can slice it in half and get a good idea of what's happening within that powerful cell. And you can see how tall it is, indicating it is fierce. It still has a lot of energy and a lot of momentum. momentum to continue its march off to the northeast. The top of those clouds easily about 40,000 feet. We've been dealing with hail too coming down. The threat will remain, and this is just kind of a look at our hail tracker. What we have seen thus far, we can kind of line it up right there on I-70. Many spots reporting easily over 2 inches in diameter. Of course, parts of downtown Park Hill looking at some hail, and then on the west side of town too, near Lakewood, about 1 inch or so in diameter. This pretty much is what we were anticipating today, with the threat for seeing tornadoes, hail being the biggest threat, but strong gusty winds and flooding also going to be an issue for folks. We've already seen that happening, and once again we could be looking at that for the next couple of hours. Meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen, he has been our eyes and ears on the ground driving around within this storm. And Corey, it looks like you're at E470, you're just south of the airport, kind of in the heart of it. Looks like no hail though, at least that I can see.
Yeah, not at the moment. The hail has kind of been in and out as we've made our way down E470, and we've kind of encountered a bit of a traffic snafu down here at the bottom of E470. It's right about where you get to the I-70 interchange. We can't really see, the traffic has been stopped here for a few minutes. We can't really see what the issue is, but we have seen several things that could cause problems like this, and mainly related to the amount of water that has just been coming out of this storm over here by Denver International Airport. Very similar to the amount of rain, almost, not quite the 1.83 inches that we saw closer to the downtown area, but we have seen some heavy rain out here with pooling water. In spots, we've seen it 3 or 4 inches deep, so that's enough to cause a hydroplaning issue at almost any speed. So we don't know if that's may have been the case up here. And we've also seen people just hiding underneath the overpasses with their vehicles. And one of the big problems with that, of course, is you mentioned that, well, Katie said that she saw some of that hail fog. And so when hail sits on the road and there is warmer air above it, you kind of get this fog that develops, and you cannot see what is happening underneath those overpasses when that happens. So the traffic is now moving now, so we're going to get back on the road and continue to chase this severe warned storm for you guys.
Lots of demand, Corey, from people on Twitter saying, I've seen people park under overpasses. Please don't do that, because when you do that, you might not see, other traffic might not see you, and that can cause an even bigger problem. So Corey Reppenhagen, stay safe out there. Hope that traffic clears up soon.
Yeah, it's so dangerous. We want to check in with our Katie Eastman, who actually had to pull off on the side, but not under an overpass. She pulled off on a frontage road off of I-70 East, and now you are on the move again. We like to see that, Katie.
We are on the move again. Now we're trying to head back, and honestly, I think the frontage road for now, heading back west, is a little faster, because I think Corey and I might be very close to each other. We're seeing that traffic too, just because of people hiding under the overpasses, and some people we've seen look like they have some blown out windows, and so now they're staying on that overpass, under the overpass, just to try to protect themselves from probably getting wet. Luckily, I'm going to show you what's in front of us. No more hail. It is sunny out, but the hail is still. Luckily, it's melting so quickly though, so the roads seem to be, it's fast going here. A camera for me to switch to. Oh, yep, to show the traffic out there. It's honestly moving. Hopefully, things will just get back to normal around here real quick, and we'll be all good.
What, that cell service is pretty darn good for where Katie Eastman is right now.
Considering, right?
Yeah, Katie, thank you. We appreciate it. Want to get to Keely Chalmers, who has made her way to Lodo, where we saw a ton of flooding, including some flooding on I-25 in the area of 23rd there. Keely, what are you seeing in Lodo right now?
Well, we're seeing the results of that flooding on I-25. We're actually sitting in what is almost a parking lot. Traffic is backed up, barely moving through Lodo, I think for a couple reasons. One, the baseball game, so that's actually good news. It's going on, but also because of the issues with the flooding on the road. So I want to show you, I think we're on Blake Street, is that correct? Yeah, we're on Blake Street, where you can see alongside the roads what looks like snow. That is hail. In fact, we're Seeing people throwing not snowballs, hail balls down here in Lodo as they head around and to the baseball game. So again, no flooding where we are, just traffic is a nightmare here in downtown, again, because of the flooding on the interstates and some of the surrounding roads. So my advice to you, if you're heading anywhere, avoid this area, and your best bet is just to stay put. I'll send it back to you.
That sounds a lot better than sticking around in that traffic. Although I saw a pedal pub just to the left of the screen there. I hope that wasn't going during all this. That would have been a nightmare.
So true, so true.
Yeah. All right,
All right,
Keely
Keely,
Chalmers.
thank you. Stay
Appreciate
safe.
it.
You bet.
I want to get you some pictures now. Oh my goodness, this appears to be on I-25. This is the flooding that we have been talking about. So dangerous. We've seen cars stalled, and now this one appears to be completely submerged underwater.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is the car's owner or someone trying to bust out a window in the back.
That looks like first responders. That's the kind of tools that they have there. We hope that there's no one inside that car right now, but we're watching as they try to kind of get that car moving and break that back window there. To get toward it. It looks like this, can we get a clarification on where this is? I don't know if this is on the highway or if this is at 38th and Inca right now. So it's near I-25. You imagine all that water that we saw on I-25 spilling over onto some of the roads all around there. And what looks like first responders trying to do some work on a car there. Again, we are hopeful that no one is in that car. We haven't gotten any information about what's going on with that vehicle. Here's a look at that flooding I was talking about on I-25 and some what appear to be stalled vehicles there. Keep in mind, this part of town got almost 2 inches of rain in an hour. Enough that the flood system, the flood prevention system in town is going to struggle with that. I don't know if you've been on a walk around town lately. You've seen that all the creeks and rivers are high because of all the water that we've had in town right now. Well, all those creeks and rivers exist because they are supposed to prevent things like this from happening. They're supposed to prevent flooding from roadways, but when they become overwhelmed and the ground continues to be saturated, you start to see flooding just like this. The good news is we've seen a lot of those waters on I-25 start to recede, but we did see some mud on the roadway there. It looked like CDOT was starting to clean some of that up.
Yep, we want to show you the Eastern Plains had a night of bad storms. This was overnight. This tornado that hit Logan County in northeast Colorado first touched down near the town of Kimball in Nebraska, and then it worked its way southeast across the state line. Our Corey Reppenhagen captured this shot now near the town of Peets.
We know there's a lot of damage in Highlands Ranch after that EF1 tornado swept through town, but officials don't know how many homes or the total cost to repair them all yet. So today, Douglas County deputies and people from the Office of Emergency Management there, they started going door to door to try to get that estimate. They needed to know the extent of the damage in order to be eligible for a presidential disaster declaration. Once they gather that information, they'll send it to the state. The state will then send it to FEMA.
We want to help our citizens as much as possible. That declaration would open what's called a public assistance grant, and that would help all of our public facilities.
Assessors are only looking at damage to people's homes. Douglas County says outside of homes, they believe Highlands Ranch lost 16,000 trees in this. I want to get over to meteorologist Chris Bianchi, who has been watching this wild weather that rolled through this afternoon. Chris, that number at the top is astounding.
Yeah, that's the one that stands out. And Steve, you mentioned it. These totals are coming on top of what's been such an exceptionally wet run for us here along the Front Range. So the water and the rainfall that we're getting here today, and especially when you get it in such a short order like what we had, unfortunately, that's what's leading to a lot of those scenes that you're seeing in Denver right now. But Lakewood, this will be on the east side of Lakewood, right near the Denver and Lakewood line. This is where we picked up about 2 inches worth of rainfall. Almost all of that came within about a 1 hour span. Commerce City, a little over an inch worth of rainfall. The totals are pretty impressive in and of themselves, but we've seen an inch, even 2 inches worth of rainfall this month, this spring, and it hasn't produced these kinds of flood issues like what we've been talking about. But that 1.1 inches worth of rainfall that we've seen, that came in 1 hour there on the east side of Lakewood. So often it's the rainfall rates. Can the ground catch up and absorb enough of that water to prevent flooding. So that's one of those things that we look out for. But of course, this comes on top of the amount of rainfall that we've had so far this June, almost 5.5 inches worth of rainfall so far this June before the storm system, already making it our wettest June on record. And that does not include the rainfall today. So again, the ground Steve was talking about a second ago, the creeks, the rivers, the streams, anything that's built here to prevent this from happening, this sort of flooding from happening, it's overwhelmed at this point. The good news is these showers will continue to push their way off to the east, maybe another little storm out on the west side of town. We'll be right back.
Lapse of this storm as it was coming through Denver this afternoon. You see it just moved awfully quickly and a whole lot of water came down all at once.
Checking in with Danielle again. Has most of this kind of moved out? What areas are still under threat tonight?
I wish you guys, I could say everything is moving out, but we're starting to see some redevelopment up throughout parts of the foothills, also near the Palmer Divide. So not completely out of the woods just yet. However, the most severe cell is just to the east of the city. It has been extended. That severe thunderstorm warning is now going to continue until 6 o'clock. So just kind of a heads up there if you're going to be out on the roads. Look at this. That tornado watch, that's going to extend out until 9 p.m. Denver included. So even though we have seen huge hail, that kind of has been the biggest threat for us, as well as the flash flooding. I can't rule out a little twist in the atmosphere and possibly a landspout tornado. There is the severe thunderstorm warning. They have actually shifted it now to the south and to the east as this storm system is starting to veer in that direction. It's going to last till 6 o'clock. Adams, Arapahoe counties included in that. But the difference now is the storm system is actually potentially laying down hail this size, 3 inches or so in diameter. Huge hail that can be doing a lot of damage. Luckily, that is a lot of farmland. However, I-70 still included in that. I took off all the lightning because sometimes it's tough to see the actual storm cell that's still sitting atop DIA right now, allowing folks to just kind of sit out there. They're at a standstill, no planes in or out. The heaviest storms, the strongest area is just to the east of the airport, and you see that area in blue that's just straddling I-70. That's going to be the hail core, where we have seen huge hail already coming down with potentially 2 to 3 inch in diameter hail on the way. The flash flood warning lasting until 6 o'clock. Denver, Jefferson counties, because of all of that rain that Chris was showing you earlier, upwards of 2 inches that have fallen within about an hour's or so time. Like I mentioned, a few more scattered showers on the west side of town, once again near the hogback, about to roll off and head toward the Golden Morrison area. So a heads up there. It doesn't look like that cell is quite as potent as what came down a couple of hours ago, but still we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Some light rain showers around C470, Ken Carroll, and then also into Douglas County. Just threw on our rainfall tracker, and wow, 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 look at all of this free water coming in. I know, it's just too much of a good thing. We are absolutely saturated. We're soaked here after such a wet May, and right now running our wettest June on record. An additional 1 to 2 inches in such a short amount of time is making an absolute mess out there. Tonight, again, we're seeing still a couple of thunderstorms. Temperatures holding off into the 50s for us in the metro area, 30s, 40s up in the mountains. Again, these storms all tracking off to the east, southeast over the course of the next couple of hours. Late this evening, 11 o'clock, still can't rule out seeing a few scattered showers here in Denver. We'll get a brief break, a little bit of patchy rain, patchy fog, I should say, tomorrow morning, but by about mid-morning, 10, 11 a.m. the rainfall continues. We'll get another wave in the afternoon, and then everything kind of pushing out by dinner time. Guys, again, tomorrow afternoon, we'll once again be monitoring the threat for seeing severe weather. However, it will shift just a bit off to the east. Denver not included in this. We'll get a break, but we will get more rain on the way. Slight risk for storms heading off to the east across I-70. Too much talking. Back to you.
I hear you, Danielle. It's been an afternoon. Take a look at this CDOT camera right now. This is in Bennett near I-70 and Watkins. Look at all that hail on the ground right now, as it appears this storm is still moving through that area. But all that white stuff you can see kind of through the blur of the water on the camera lens, that is hail right there.
The images we've been able to see today are just unbelievable.
Yeah, just these storms are starting, the incredible storms that we've seen here in the metro area starting to push out toward the eastern plains right now. If you're out there, if you're driving out there right now, you know someone who is, just tell them to be aware that this is coming.
I want to give you an update here on firefighters trying to contain the large Spring Creek fire.
Want to get out to meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen, who has been driving in all of this, and we've been watching that scene near Watkins. Corey, you're there now. What are you seeing?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of slow traffic. We've driven through a couple of pockets of a lot of accumulating hail on the road. Looked to me about a 1-inch hail. And then piled up a few inches on top of that. So we're driving east now, just trying to stay right behind this storm on I-70. Traffic is kind of slow moving at times. But we have one thing that we have noticed, and you can't really see it, but on this shot, if you look to the right of the screen, upper right, you kind of see that kind of a little bit of a darker mass of clouds. The storm is really starting to show fine.
As usual, our signal breaking up there on the Eastern Plains. Corey Reppenhagen. Oh, well, you know what? Well, we may have gotten him back, but he's going to try to, tune in a little bit better. Let's get a look at some video that viewers have shot around town throughout all of this. That is the flooding on I-25. Another incredible image of it. We've been watching that area of I-25 near 23rd where there was flooding. Not quite. I'm trying to make out the buildings in the background and get a better idea of where exactly along the highway this was. But we have seen flooding all over metro area highways this afternoon. Just a reminder, you probably don't want to do what these folks are doing unless you know that that water is not deep. All right, let's get to back to this video, 30th and Inca. We're still trying to get an update from Denver police about what is going on here. You see that car submerged and what appear to be first responders breaking that back window. They've got a tool. It looks like maybe Denver Fire out there with a tool. We hope that there's no one in that vehicle. You'd think that if there was, you'd see firefighters and rescuers in the water there. We're going to keep checking in with them to try to get an answer of what was going on there near 38th and Inca, right near I-25, where again, we saw so much water on the roadway. That water has to go somewhere. Oftentimes it ends up in these underpasses throughout the city of Denver. And that's one of the reasons why you turn around in situations like this, because you never know how deep floodwaters are. Always the best idea to never try to approach a flooded roadway because you never know what you're going to encounter.
Certainly.
We'll be right back. Fire about this. This is 38th and Fox in that underpass that floods almost every storm. The good news we can tell you is that no one was reported to be inside that car. They did have divers in the water who checked that car, which was still underwater by the time they got out there to take a look. They did not find anyone. Everyone is safe at 38th and Fox. But some incredible video that we've been watching from Denver Fire all afternoon.
As we approach 5:30, we know we're still under some severe thunderstorm warnings, flash flood warnings in certain parts of the metro area. So let's check in with Danielle Grant to find out how things are shaping up at this hour.
We're still monitoring huge hail out there across the eastern side of DIA, I-70 toward Byers and Bennett. This is our CDOT camera right there across I-70. Folks just crawling through the hail. Right now it looks like potentially upwards of 2 to 3 inches in diameter, definitely covering the roads out there too. The severe thunderstorm warning out will continue until 6 o'clock. Adams, Arapahoe counties. The storm slowly shifting to the south and to the east out there with really heavy rain. And again, that area in blue right there around I-70, that is the hail core, and that is where we're seeing the worst of the conditions. We still have the flash flood warning in place until 6 o'clock on the west side of town. Denver and Jefferson counties, heads up. We've already seen about 2 inches of rain out there with another storm on the horizon. This one will be pushing back into the metro area. We'll be tracking it all tonight throughout nightly news, and of course we'll see you tonight on Next with Kyle Clark.
Our gardens with all that.